Hello, I'm Wendy, and today I'm looking at some watercolour greeting cards ideas, and we're going to have the daisy as a subject. I generally use tri-fold blank aperture cards for my greeting cards. I work with aperture ranges from about 2 by 2 inches through to 6 by 4. More often than not, I work on the 6 by 4 size, and as a tip here, what I suggest you do is just map out an area just slightly bigger than the aperture of the card before you start painting, and you'll find this will be a great help. You won't end up with a picture that doesn't fit. And also, if you find some areas of your painting when you finish working better than others, you might find that one of the other aperture cards will work nicely on that particular area. I'll explain that again in practice towards the end of the video when I'm looking at putting different apertures on these pictures that I'm painting. I'm currently masking out the area of the daisy, and I've gone through this process in quite a lot of detail on a previous video, and I'll put you a link to that in the description box below. I do like to mask out the flowers because it gives you a lot more freedom. You can put the paint on without having to worry about painting particularly well around the petals. You can be more experimental with your mixers as well. The particular masking fluid that I'm using, I'll link in the description box. It's called Pebeo, and I'm finding that is working very well. And also it's a light grey, which means it's easier to see than some of the colourless ones. I did wet this paper first with some clear water, and now I'm going all spring-like and dropping in some phthalo blue and also some yellow. It could be any yellow that you've got, and it's going to give you some nice spring greens on the picture. I'm extending the painting outside the aperture area just a little bit, as you can see on the outside edges, and that'll give me a little bit more leeway when I come to put the aperture on at the end of the painting. As I'm painting, I'm gradually adding a stronger mix of the green. My greens are mixed from the phthalo blue and the yellow that you see, and also a burnt sienna to darken it. If you're interested and want to know more about my palette for mixing greens, I do have a video I made some time ago. I'll pop you a link for that in the description box below. While the paint was still damp, I sprinkled a little bit of salt into the background washes. When everything was dry, I removed the masking fluid and made a start on putting some shadow areas onto the petals. I'm using a very dilute phthalo blue here, and I'm having a hard edge where petals touch or overlap, and then I'm softening that out with clear water. Doing this, I'm separating the petals by differences in tone rather than the pencil lines which we rubbed out. And now I'm using a nice lemony yellow to do the centre of the flower, and you might just see I've left a little bit of white in there just as a highlight. And now what I'm doing is I'm sort of, while it's still wet, dabbing in some cadmium orange into there. In this case, just to provide a little bit of texture. You don't need to do this. In fact, you could just go straight in with your cadmium orange. Experiment and see what you like to do the best. Perhaps make it a little darker where the centre of the flower meets the top of the petals. That will give it a little bit more form. The next stage then was mixing up a couple of greens here, a lighter one and a darker one, just to put some detail onto the stems and onto the little bud. And here I added a little bit of burnt umber to the cadmium orange, just to add that little bit more depth at the bottom of the central area of the flower, as I was mentioning before. And now with the picture finished, it's time to have a first look at putting one of the apertures around it. I'll have a look in a few minutes at putting some of the different sizes around it as well. I had a go at painting a few of these. The one I demonstrated you can see on the right here, and then the one on the left, the blue is a little bit darker on that one. I think that's working quite nicely too, with the shadows are a little bit darker too on the petals. Now these two, I changed the blue. I used ultramarine here. You can see the difference, can't you? The greens and the blues are much more subdued. The phthalo blue is a very vibrant blue. It's quite different from the ultramarine. I experimented a little bit doing different techniques on the centre of the flowers. On the one on the right hand side, I actually used some white gouache to put some little white dots on there. This is the daisy picture that I demonstrated, and I've just placed one of my aperture cards over it just to show you the type of cards again that I'm using. And I thought this was quite a nice composition of the picture to use, so that was the one that I stuck down in the centre of the card. I'll show you the 4 paintings in the 6x4 aperture. I felt all of them worked and could well be used at that size. Possibly this one that I'm showing you here maybe doesn't work as well. Everything is very subjective, isn't it? But I wasn't too sure about the top there with the salt effect. I thought it may be a little bit distracting. I wasn't too sure about the composition of that one. So let's have a look at the same picture in a variety of apertures that I have. This one is a 4x4 inch image. This is 3x3. And this little card here is about a 5x5 inch card with a 2x2 inch image. The main message I'm trying to get across in this video really is don't restrict yourselves to painting a certain size when you're painting greetings cards. You can be more productive and have some more exciting compositions if you're more flexible and use a variety of different size cards. And if, like me, you're quite experimental, particularly in the backgrounds of your paintings, you'll always find some areas working better than others. And as I've shown you, you can always pick out these areas with your smaller apertures, or you can cut them out and stick them onto just general folding cards. You'll find a wide range of original cards, including some of these, and paintings, in my eBay shop if you'd like to just go to have a look or to purchase. I've put a link in the description box below. As always, I do hope you've learned something from this video. If you'd like to support my channel, please give me a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss anything in the future, you can subscribe. So bye for now, and I do hope you'll join me again. Enjoy your painting.